Hello, and welcome to the Ms. Behavior podcast for student conduct professionals. My name is Colette.
And I'm Kurt.
And we're your hosts, and we are thrilled today to have a wonderful guest, Kristin Ridge, who is building a name for herself, studying first-generation college students, and is just a fun person. Kristin, welcome. We want to make you feel
Thank
comfortable,
you.
but we're going to first ask you to introduce yourself and anything you would want folks to know about you. And then we want to know about a time that you got in trouble.
Yes, okay. Thank you for having me. This is very exciting. What can I tell you? I am a proud first-gen graduate from New York University, from undergrad and master's. And then I had the privilege of getting my doctorate in a cohort of all first-gen women at Johnson and Wales University. So we have a lot of opinions, as you might imagine. And so they are a wonderful group of fellow first-gen warriors. My day job is being the Associate Dean of Students at the University of Rhode Island, and I am responsible for conduct. I sit on the behavioral intervention team, sexual assault response team, that stuff. But my previous version of life, I spent 20 years in housing. So I've done my time in Azkaban, and now I am happily over in Dean of Students, and I do a lot of work with the URI first gen population as a passion project. Well, we sort of meld those populations together. And when I got in trouble, I am such a rule follower. It's like not even funny. I have this emblazoned moment of getting yelled at in fourth grade because I left my math textbook in my cubby. But that's a terrible and pathetic story. So I will also tell you that I managed to avoid 5 days worth of parking tickets by parking illegally this last week, and they did get me on the 5th day. But I felt like there was some justice there because really they should have gotten me 5 days in a row. And I could come up with excuses as to why I shouldn't have gotten a ticket, but I absolutely was parked in the wrong place. So, oh well. And yeah, I'm the type that I would have been a terrible spy because if the door said employees only, I would have been like, oh shucks, there goes the lead. Oh well, I'm just gonna stay on this side of the door. And somehow, shocking to everyone, I ended up in a role where I enforce rules.
I
Who would
love
have
all
thunk it?
that. It's funny that oh, I was I had a relatable parking story when I was a sophomore. I took my car to school, but I couldn't afford to pay for the parking pass. So I parked in the lot thinking nobody would catch me, and then I got a ticket. But then I proceeded to just take the ticket off and put it back on periodically and for the entire semester. So my parking sticker costs $30, $300.
You know, you found the loophole. I'm sold. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I have no excuse. I just we're building 3 new buildings, and so the parking has been taken away by construction. So right now it's a bit of the Hunger Games, and yeah, I had a meeting. Oh well.
You're just testing boundaries. It's
You know, the Raptors are testing the fence. It's fine.
So you had to have a meeting about this?
No, thank God, no, because the hypocrisy would have been great because I have been called in to do meetings of students who owe lots of money in parking. No, but I was running late to a meeting that I was supposed to be running. So it was like, okay,
You
I'm gonna
had a
just run the risk of it at this point. So, I
the
know
thing with students, though, like you take your risk, and there might be a consequence. There might not be. There might be a consequence that you deprived someone that needed that spot more than you did. You hurt
yes,
them, but
I know. Well, and now I held
something.
on to the fourth grade math textbook. So now I'm gonna hang on to who I screwed out of a parking spot for the next 25 years.
But I don't like the shaming. No, you made an adult choice, and
I did,
it worked out fine.
hmm
Yeah.
I ran the meeting. There we go. That's what I got.
So your pathway into student conduct came through housing and residence life?
Yes, it did. I was a traditional RD, Boston College. I left New York for Beantown, and then I moved over to a higher level housing role, but with it was embedded conduct, and then moved over to this position now, which is primarily conduct, and gotten pretty involved with ASCA as well. So I'm squarely loving the land of conduct now, which it's so funny because when I talk to people at work, they're like, I could never do your job. I'm like, no, friend, you really could. It's not what you think it is. And as someone who worked in housing for so many years, like those are the people who I need you to send fruit baskets and love and cookies to, because like we're having a good time in conduct. Like they're working hard over there. So yeah, it's people joke that I'm the fun police, but we have a little saying in our office that we put the fun in dysfunctional. So we're still fun in our own strange way. It's great.
I feel like we should be keeping a tally of how many people entered the world of student conduct through residence life because I think it's 100% at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. You reach a point where you can't be on duty at night anymore. And it's like, but how do I still do what I love and sleep? And this was a nice combination of things. And this was my first public institution. So that's been a neat change for me too.
Now I'm curious, you said at Boston College, when you were an RD, were you doing conduct as a residence director?
Yeah,
Okay.
lower level. And man, was I bad at it. Made so many mistakes. And I had a wonderful assistant director who taught us, and I got a lot better at it. But yeah, we were hearing things in our own buildings. Uh, and then we had not only a higher level person in our office to hear higher level conduct cases, but in addition to that, at Boston College, there was at the time then also a full other office outside of residence life that did conduct cases as well. And to some extent, I think that's where academic integrity landed too. But we got to cut our teeth on the lower level stuff.
So you
Got
said
to make my
mistakes.
mistakes. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I it
What's a
was
re
terrible.
if you could have a redo, what's a redo that you would
hmm
have?
Okay, so my graduate assistantship was not a traditional grad RD, so I was learning on the fly. The big mistake I had, the very first conduct hearing I had, I combined two cases because I didn't know you couldn't do that. It's like, so you did this and you did this, and they're similar, so let's talk about it. And it was blessedly a very, very insignificant situation, and the students were lovely and probably also terrified. So we got through that, and then I learned that that's not how you do that. But I had come up the ranks through a freshman mediation program, and I didn't do grad RD stuff. So until somebody tells you, you don't know what you don't know.
Wow, yeah.
At my last couple, actually last three places, we would have wanted you to do that. I call it a package. Instead of making a student go through two different hearings, like while you're here, why don't we take care of this alcohol one too and
hmm
get them off the hot seat? So
Well, that would have been
I like your
fine, but these were two
instinct.
different students, like two different cases. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, no, it was bad. It was real bad. Yeah, no, I absolutely love the let's just deal with this while I have you here kind of thing, but no, this was wildly
You
wrong.
conflated two,
Yeah,
two,
yeah, yeah,
all right.
yeah. You were both being noisy in the hallway in separate moments, so let's talk about it. But
It's
yeah,
efficient,
so
you know?
yeah, we'll go with that. It's fine.
Kristen,
FERPA efficiency.
I think I wrote your name down. You got on my radar when we were in a meeting of women in student conduct. I
Yes,
think
yes.
that was the space. And I had asked if we could have a theme of the conversation be theory to practice.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it might bomb because I meet so few people now who really apply intentionally theory to practice. And you
Mm.
said some things, and I wrote down, like, I really want to know this woman. And I can't remember, like, and so you're saying, like, you kind of were like many of us did all the rookie mistakes at the beginning, but
Sure.
when did like good theory to practice stuff become a thing for you?
Yeah, I think probably when I was hearing higher level cases as an assistant director and then director in housing, because I also was hearing appeals at that point. So I was evaluating the whole process through the lens of what's fair to the student and how do I mirror the integrity of the process with student rights. So it definitely became more theory driven of belonging at that point, looking at how is a student making choices about their behavior because they are seeking a community and they know they're doing things they wouldn't necessarily do within their own value system or in their own family of origin, but they're so desperate to find friends and find a place and feel like they belong that they're willing to break their own rules to find a group or feel accepted. And so it changed a lot from looking at, underage drinking is bad to what's the motivation behind this choice that you made. And there's accountability for your choice. I got the parking ticket and I paid it, but it's let's unpack how you got here. I like to say that behavior is a communication, and it's usually communicating an unmet need. So what's missing that's leading you to be in this space of dissonance where your instincts and your values and your personality are over here, but the choices you're making and the actions that you're doing don't line up with that. And I found a lot of it was from, but I have to make friends and I don't know how to make friends. And I've worked at institutions with small, medium, and large Greek populations. And for some, it's, I don't even want to be Greek, but I feel like I have to fit in this environment. And you can replace Greek with student senate or whatever it is. But yeah, unpacking what's missing. And it almost always led back to belonging and feeling like I have to be who I think I'm supposed to be, not who I am, because I don't know how to make friends, or I'm worried I won't make friends, or everybody else seems like they have it together. Nobody does, but it's tough. Those were difficult conversations because they couldn't defend their actions because they didn't want to be doing it in the first place, but they were bending their values because they just wanted to fit in and belong and feel like they were at home. So different approach, different sanctions, different types of follow-up. It was probably way more counseling based and non-clinically, but probably did a lot more good getting to the root of what they needed rather than trying to villainize the fact that you drank a beer under 21.
That's
Deal when they're just lonely and isolated.
Yeah. And that was even pre-COVID. Now it's even more challenging.
I feel like that
So,
reframes my whole freshman year thinking about it through that lens. Wow, that's
mhm.
I never thought about it that way. That's fascinating.
Yeah, I also meet with and have for a very long time in different roles students who get transported typically for alcohol poisoning. Now I see it a little bit with cannabis sometimes, but it's usually alcohol poisoning. And I ask them, you know, does your family know this happened? And how's that? And they're for the most part devastated that they've disappointed their family and disappointed themselves because they know this isn't who they are or who they want to be. And it's this struggle of I want to make friends. I feel like I don't know how to. I want to belong. This is a big campus or I haven't found my place. And so I'm doing whatever I think might make me some friends. And here I am. I don't feel well. I was in the hospital. It was embarrassing and I'm still trying to find. So sometimes I've sanctioned people to go to clubs and join a club or join an intramural. And it's like, you need to find better friends who take care of you and accept you for who you are. So you're going to go join intramural soccer and then come back and see me again. Sometimes it works.
So I stumbled on you in, I think, Inside Higher Ed recently. I was
Yes.
perusing. Tell us about your doctoral research that has gotten some nice attention, and I hope
Yeah.
starts lots of conversations in lots of places. But what inspired that, and what shape did it take?
Yes. So I was lucky that I knew the topic I wanted to look at from the beginning of my doctoral program, that I wanted to look at this potential for inequity in first gen students who were experiencing the student conduct process. And it came out of a case that I had where I had two students who did similar things. And one student was a first gen whose family language was primarily not English. And I knew that this charge was going to be very bad on their records, both of them. It would probably result in a suspension at the institution I was at, and it would probably have resulted in them having trouble transferring because if they had dean's records requests to their new institutions, this charge was going to show up and it would give other institutions some level of pause. And I had the first gen student, and I just felt like he was woefully unprepared, unsupported, unclear about the process. The process was happening to him. He wasn't going through the process. And then I had this other student who was more resourced, and their family could read our code of conduct in English, and that was their primary language, and had resources to get him a lawyer and identify the loophole of, in this case, it was better for him to withdraw before charges were actually applied to his record. And so that student was able to essentially move on to a new educational path with no real consequences, because his record was still clean at the point that he withdrew, because we hadn't put formal charges on yet. Whereas the other student who did the same thing was going to have this follow him forever. And it just stuck with me, because it wasn't that one had better or worse behavior. It was one had family that could help them navigate better. So I wasn't holding him accountable to his behavior. I was holding him accountable for being born to a family that hadn't gone to college and learned to speak college bureaucracy. So, it got me on my high horse. I'm a stubborn New Yorker, and I had trouble letting go of that. So that's where the research started of, is this really a phenomenon that happens? And it turned into a multi-site case study about how institutions that are known for being really intentional about first gens, well resourced, not necessarily financially, but they have systems in place and there's intentional language on their websites. They identify themselves and want to be known as institutions who are good at supporting first gens. How are they handling first gens in the conduct system? Because if anybody's getting it right, it should be these schools, because they have the rest of the first gen stuff right. So it led to a variety of interesting rabbit holes and recommendations from conduct, even things like orientation and handbook. And I've sort of, taken it on the road. I was very, very lucky to be named Dissertation of the Year for ASCA the year that I defended. So that was very exciting. And then I ended up presenting, I forget where the Inside Higher Ed reporter was. It was either at the ASCA annual conference or it was at the ESHE conference. And I didn't know who she was or that she was in my presentation, but she reached out afterwards and asked if I would do an interview for Inside Higher Ed. I was like, twist my arm. So so that was exciting. And so now, we're still building within our own institution about things that we can do better within conduct, better for our first gens, and trying to continue to put forth the idea that we need to look at this population a little differently. If I ever find free time again, my next version of this research will be looking at first gen academic integrity infractions, because I think there's something else going on there. Kind of like what led you to this behavior? I'm trying to find friends. It's, what led you to this behavior? Well, I'm on full scholarship, and if I drop my GPA, I can't go to school anymore. I don't know, but I think it's worth exploring to see if this experience is different for this population.
But anecdotally, we do hear those stories in academic hearings of
yes,
I can't bring shame to my family. They
absolutely
worked so hard for me to be here. I can't go home. Yeah.
Yep. And it's always heartbreaking when I deal with those cases that involve international students, because I'm not just reprimanding you, I'm deporting you. And for some of our students, depending on the country they're going back to, there are some real risks to their health and safety if they do have to go back to those countries. So they're never easy. They're never cases that anybody feels good about when you're done with them. So maybe I'll go back to, write another little dissertation at some point. My husband will kill me if I do that.
Or start your own podcast.
There you go.
Yeah. No, I'll just come back. I like this. I like visiting. That's good. Yeah.
So, Kristin, I work at a community college, and we serve a lot of first generation students, and we often talk about being a student ready college. And when I think about cultural capital and students navigating. It's usually around access, like
Hmm.
understanding how to apply, understanding how to fill out a FAFSA form, register for classes, but not conduct. I don't know that I've
Yes.
ever thought about that. So for people who are listening who work at schools that have, a higher population of first generation students, what are some of the things that they can be doing from a conduct perspective to help students
Mm.
who might find themselves in that situation?
Yes. My top recommendation is probably the hardest one to achieve is having your code of conduct in the languages that your students and their families speak. That's a big ask depending on, the level of legalese in your system and getting that translated. But in addition to that, also really like the idea of demystifying the process. And so I mean, putting frequently asked questions on websites that are accessible to parents, accessible to families in actual language of, no, you're not going to get kicked out of school for noise in the hall. Let's calm down some of the anxiety around that so that we have a more productive conversation. I am a big proponent of here's exactly what you should expect before coming into this meeting. We're actually working on multiple modalities of that right now in partnership with our Office of Disability Access and Inclusion because it also serves our neurodiverse population to cut down on some of the anxiety around here is literally the script. This is what I'm going to ask you. It's not scary, it's not adversarial. I'm asking you to tell me your side of the story. And there's no reason why they can't know that in advance. It's not a gotcha. I don't have a secret question that I want to pull out. So putting all that accessible. We have started doing pre-hearing meetings. So for the higher level things, someone who's not involved with the case itself will sit with someone so they fully understand this is what you need to do to be prepared. This is what is and isn't going to happen. And we have a robust conduct advisor program, which I would strongly recommend to any institution, whether they have a high first gen population or not. The goal isn't to advocate for the student, it's just to make sure that they understand their rights in the process and where they are in the process. So they're making an informed decision about what they want their next step to be. First gen specifically, I would love to have that conduct advisor be already assigned to them when we assign them a case of, hey, you have to come meet with me, so that it's opt out instead of opt in. I think this population doesn't always know that they could benefit from that kind of informed support and that it's okay to have help through the process. And finally, humanizing the people who are hearing the cases. I am loath to tell students that I am the associate dean when I'm doing first gen stuff because then I'm the scary conduct lady. And I want them to know me as someone on campus before they worry about what the rules are. And so we have our profiles on our website. They're not currently as personal as they could be or friendly. There's areas to make that more fun. Even something stupid like if you come to my office, it's full of Legos, and maybe a picture of my office will show you some of my Lego collection. But just to humanize that I'm not scary, and my goal isn't to make you feel scared. It's to figure out where things went wrong and how we make it better. Other piece for first gen on the other side is being aware of the unintended consequences of sanctioning. So if I'm kicking someone out of housing, depending on their family structure, resources, all that, am I de facto kicking them out of the school, which is not my goal? Do they understand what it means to take a leave after the deadline is passed and they're going to still incur incompletes or no works or tuition
Lose
bills?
a
But exactly. So things like that, making sure that if you don't know what the word bursar means, you don't know to go talk to them about what does this mean for my financial aid package. I think we're intentional about being a stopgap there of I want you to learn from the experience. Some of this is, holding you accountable with a level of deterrence, but I don't want to punish you for not understanding the system. And we're pretty overt with advertising when we, as staff members, are first gen. We have buttons, we have stuff on our email signatures. And so we'd like to use that as a check-in option of, look, I'm somebody who was exactly where you were. I didn't know how office hours worked. And now I am, here, or here's faculty who's first. So also trying to pair that idea of being a friendly person on campus with, I'm somebody who you can talk to because I truly do get it, and we can work through the things that you don't understand. Because I didn't understand them either.
Do students know what the term first gen means when they come now?
No,
Is that common enough?
no. And it's so frustrating because I have to convince people they are first gen because, well, I shouldn't say everybody. A lot of them do. And I had an amazing moment when I was tabling for first gen at orientation. And this student was there with a group of friends. And she said, "Ugh, I'm not first gen. This sucks." And I was like, okay, I love that you want to be and want to be identified with us. And, it was just awesome. And the students who do know it are so excited when they see intentional outreach. It's like, that's me, and this is for me. And it's, we give special cords at graduation, and they get very excited when we hear about that. However, I still have people who think I mean that you are the first person born in this country, regardless of your parents' or family's academic background. I spend a lot of time demystifying that, or I don't count, quote unquote, because somebody has an associate's degree or something. It's like, just come, just come. If you think you're going to benefit from this, just come. And it's a bunch of people who want to make friends and are going through the same transition you are, with various levels of previous knowledge, and nothing bad can come out of feeling more informed about your institution.
I had a friend, we were walking across campus and saw the signs for our campus's first gen program.
Mm-hmm.
And she sort of confessed, she's like, I'm not first generation, but I really feel like it. And I was
Yes.
like, I do too. And we realized we had both grown up rural.
Yeah.
And that there were a lot of similarities in just the lack of savvy and the bad advice we got from our parents. So
Yep.
I appreciate that you're trying to spread the net as far as you can.
Yeah. I mean, we have people whose parents have some academic pedigree from other countries. And the thing is, it's just so wildly different that are you able to be an effective and informed resource for your student who's navigating the American system? Maybe not. So maybe they would benefit, or they have a degree, but it was completely online. And so not knowing what the transition issues are of living on campus, it's still a whole new world. We're very, arms wide open of, if you want to come, come. And uh, my supervisor's son is a first year, and he's just this delightful person. And he came over to see me at the orientation table, and I was like, sweet child, your grandfather was a doctor. You are not first gen. He's like, but could I be honorary? And I was like, yes, fine, come. But it's a nice group of students who are so excited to learn that a third of our campus population is first gen now at University of Rhode Island. And so when they realize they're not alone and there's other people who get it, get their lived experience, and that they just want to connect with each other, it's a really nice way for them to feel belonging and work on dismantling some imposter syndrome, and have them feel like, no, there's fully thousands of you here. You belong here just as much as everybody else.
I have a question that's completely, I'll own it, self-serving.
Let's do it.
I have a feeling that there will be people listening that might appreciate this.
Mm-hmm.
I love the tips you're giving about accessibility to like the behind the scenes parts of conduct.
Yes.
But there has been a movement among campus webmasters, and I picture like the ASCA, and we're in a room full of conduct people in our insular bubble, and then there are all these webmasters. The move has been, we're going to create a shiny, nice website that anyone can look at, but don't you dare point out that we might have things go wrong on our campus. And if you want to see the code of conduct, you have to have a password. If your parents want to see it, they can't. If their parents' lawyer wants to see it, they can't. And I wonder if you've encountered this and if you have any sound bites or
Yeah,
strategies for
I have
making
some
things
opinions.
accessible.
Yeah, yes, it is an interesting thing that I didn't appreciate way back in the day when I was at Boston College, that marketing had a publicly facing admissions webpage that was a recruitment tool. And then there was an internal intranet that was for the daily comings and goings in life of the institution. I have been at places where there is one website that is attempting to serve both masters, and then you do both poorly, right? Like you can't, they're such diametrically opposed purposes. So I think that, and actually this was in my research about who gets to play a role at orientation, because we're, in my opinion, doing families a disservice if we don't talk about, hey, not everything's going to go perfectly. And maybe it's not your kid who's going to get in trouble, but maybe your kid is going to be the roommate of somebody, or hopefully not, but the victim of a theft or something like that, where you still need to know the process because it's there to protect you as much as it's there to hold everybody to the same level of community standard. I have not come across a place where the handbook is inaccessible. It is a publicly facing document at my institution, as we are a land grant. But if I were at a place that would not let it be quite so available, I think I would probably need to move to increase the amount of pre-work that we do with a student prior to them actually coming into a first meeting, even if the level of the meeting is not that serious, at least so that they have a basic scaffolding of this is what the process is, this is what your rights are, and this is what you can expect. Now, attorneys is a really good point though, because Rhode Island is tiny. You know, we joke that you could probably wall to wall carpet the state. So there's a few higher ed lawyers in Rhode Island. And so like we've worked with most of them. And so we have a good working relationship with them. They understand our process. They know what they can do, where their role is. But at larger institutions or at places where you don't have that level of familiarity, I think it is just beneficial to everybody if you're proactive with the attorneys about, here's the code, here's the process, here's what you can expect, here's what I will and won't do, and oh, by the way, here's the parking lot you need to park in. Like they have a job to do too. And a lot of times when our students have attorneys, they're also facing criminal charges. So yes, I want them to take seriously the consequences that might face them as a member of my institution, but they also have some really big stuff looming over them in court. And so I want you to be as informed and as supported as possible, because yeah, you did something and you screwed up, but you're still my student. So I still have to support you too. And in that case, the attorney isn't they're not the enemy. And I think at least we have found that when we work with these attorneys, there's a level of respect of you have a job to do, I have a job to do, but at the end of the day, we both care about what happens to the student. And so our systems are just going to exist in parallel, and that's okay. I won't communicate directly with attorneys. Everything in our system goes through the student. But if the student wants to send every letter, every voicemail, every note, that's fine. But they have to be the one to do it. And some of them struggle with that, but eventually they figure out that they are the keeper of the progress in our system. So they need to own that part.
Kurt and Kristen, you have both done doctoral work that I think is important
Mm-hmm.
to our field. And I'm really glad that you didn't consider your dissertation defense like the end, that you're
Yeah.
actually out there talking about it. I love hearing that, and not just, woo, I'm done. The long nightmare is over.
Yeah.
And I know it's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
work to just keep it in people's ears, but it's really important.
And it becomes for me like I still have the Google Scholar alerts and what articles are relevant now, and trickling into the AI stuff. It's still there. And I think sometimes it's hard to find where to continue to talk about things. I have to get mine published. My advisor is going to come hunt me down because I still haven't done that. She's so mad at me. But, I'm fortunate that I've had the ability to present with ASCA and get some opportunities there, because, this was a huge part of my focus and my life for several years. And so I think it's important enough to keep bringing that into the conversation. So as long as they'll have me, I'll keep yapping about it.
And when you spend that much time on something, you want it to mean something and have legs
Yeah.
and impact the field in an important way. So kudos to you.
I'm far enough away from it now that now I can say that I miss it. If you'd asked me right after defense, I would have said I never want to see any of this again. Yeah, I don't, well, I don't miss all the sleep I missed. But having these timely conversations with really amazing professors and people in my cohort, I do miss that. We've got a great, group text that still goes, and half the time now it's just emojis of like, what is happening? But when you go through that with people, it's a special bond.
I just said to somebody today, I'm working with a doctoral student I'm on their dissertation committee, and
Hmm.
I miss the process. I miss
Hmm.
the discussions. I don't necessarily miss sitting in the class, but those side conversations and the relationships and just feeling like you're building something.
Yeah.
It's something that I think about. So yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm teaching freshmen this year in a management class, and I'm teaching sophomores in a leadership class in the spring. But someday I would love to teach CSP students and a little bit more about um, the wacky world of student affairs, because you bring something to teaching it when you've lived it for as many years as we all have.
Some things you can only learn through experience.
The day we found an alligator during campus move-in.
Did
Yeah.
that happen?
That happened. That happened.
Oh,
See,
wow.
that's the question you should have asked me, like the craziest. I didn't break really interesting rules, but yes, we absolutely found an alligator, and he was not small, and he had to depart campus because he could not live on our campus. I don't think he could even legally live in the state. And we were a little concerned because there were some bodies of water on and nearby campus,
Oh,
and so we didn't know if he had been appropriately relocated, shall we say.
Oh,
But we are led to believe to this day he has lived a long and happy alligator life in a different state. But yeah, I walked up to my VP that day, and he was just a wonderful guy and had a thing for peanut M&Ms, and I handed him a bag of peanut M&Ms, and I was like, I got one you've never had. And he's like, try me. I've been in the field with alligator. It's like, damn it. And then took the M&Ms and walked away. And I was like, yeah, I got you. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's the perfect place to stop.
Don't bring
I
an
was like
alligator to
ending on
college.
a happy story.
love it.
Kristin Ridge, this was a pleasure. I hope that we'll have you
Thank
back. We're
you.
definitely marking our calendars for February for the National Conduct Conference
Yes.
through
Yes.
ASCA in
It's
Washington,
going to be
D.C.
great.
And
Yeah, we're excited.
we'll see you there. And,
Great.
thanks for being on Misbehavior.
Thank
So
you for
nice to meet
having
you.
me. You too.
Misbehavior is written and produced by Colette Shaw and Kurt Doan. Theme music was written and performed by Kevin MacLeod from incompetech.com. You can contact Ms. Behavior at msbehaviorcollege@gmail.com. That's msbehaviorcollege@gmail.com.